And then the company offered me the opportunity to go to the board. It was an incredible experience for me to be the only non-German speaker, non-German resident in one of the Bosch boards. It was really incredible, and they succeeded at that. The two of us are first generation college. I studied in the countryside of Portugal. I applied to Erasmus, and that was exactly when this whole thing of the global citizen or globetrotter started. It was my first experience abroad. I realized that I wanted really to be a citizen of the world. I arrived at the exact moment when the startup was being put together. In the middle of the internship, Bosch offers me a contract to come to Portugal and to be responsible for sales for Latin America. I was 24, and it was really outstanding, right? So I had this, kickstart. The first 3 years we were not making money, and we were still negative EBIT. Eventually we more than doubled the business. We turned the business around. When I left, it was double-digit positive EBIT.
Well, welcome to the Red Chair. Today we have Vítor Gregório. Vítor, great to see you.
Likewise.
Former board member at Bosch. I think the first Portuguese to ever be a board member at Bosch, right? So how did it all start? How did you get there? What happened? Tell us about your story.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be in the Red Chair with you, Stefan, and to share a little bit my story. Well, I'm Portuguese, as you know, and I was born in a small town in the countryside of Portugal. From a middle-class family, Portuguese middle-class family, second of two siblings, and my parents, blue-collar workers. Their will was that me and my sister had a better education that they had, and they succeeded at that. The two of us are first generation college. I studied in the countryside of Portugal, but I was a curious kid always. Very easy to learn languages at young age, and always wanted to see the world and to travel the world. Maybe because my ancestors were also immigrants, maybe that came from that. My parents did not immigrate, but my grandparents and uncles and aunts and whatever. So my first option to go abroad was Erasmus. So I applied to Erasmus. I mean, today is very common, but
Which year was this?
96, 97.
Okay. More or less when I did it. I also did it in 96.
So,
yes.
So you know that now it's very common, but in the 90s was really
the exception.
Exactly.
The beginning.
Exactly.
Which university were you attending at
I
the time?
went to Barcelona, Facultad de Ciências Sociais.
And in Portugal, which one were you?
UBI.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, exactly.
And you did an exchange, you went to
Barcelona. Exactly.
Amazing.
And that was exactly when this whole thing of the global citizen or globetrotter started. It was my first experience abroad. And I spent, 2 semesters there, and it was really an eye-opening for me, from a cultural standpoint, from an educational standpoint, but I think more from a personal standpoint. I realized that I wanted really to be a citizen of the world. From a small town countryside to Barcelona was a big step. Although I always felt myself more an outsider there than insider. When I finished the Erasmus, I came back. I finished my studies. I studied management, so business administration, and I didn't apply to any company, or I didn't send any CV. I only focused on international internships. So I applied to a couple in the university. I actually got one in Budapest. That then eventually got cancelled. But I also applied to this international program called Contacto, very famous here in Portugal.
Yes.
It was the second edition that I applied.
Yes.
Very funny story. This is before the Internet of Things and the Googling and a friend of mine that had done Erasmus with me told me, well, there is this program for international careers and so on. And my first reaction was, come on, I mean, 100 places for 2,000 or 3,000 candidates. I'm from UBI, small university, not ranked at all. But you should apply, you should apply. And I did apply. And well, I went through the interviews and it was a very scrutinized process, more than in my year, 2000 candidates for 100 spots. And I got one.
Where did you go?
I went to Chile.
Chile. Yes.
I was placed in Chile, and that's where the Bosch history started. And the company that hosted me, it was lottery, if you know. So you were selected. You had a 2-3 week international seminar here in Lisbon. And then you were placed in one company or one institution, and one country. But you didn't know, and still today, you don't know where you go, neither for the company nor for the country. All right.
I think we talked about this previously because I was in Chile also.
I know
at the time, but we didn't
mix. Didn't cross. Yes.
I think we had some common friends.
Yes.
But Chile was it's an incredible country.
It is indeed.
It's a great experience to be there.
It is.
Really, Erasmus and Contact were really foundational for a whole generation, right? Erasmus probably the best invention of the European Union by far.
Yeah.
And Contacto probably the best invention of Portugal, also of the Portuguese government for many years.
Yeah.
So that was really foundational.
For me, were really foundational for, as I said, the personal and the professional I became.
Because nowadays everybody goes abroad, but at the time,
imagine going from Portugal to Chile in 1999. So you were there probably.
I was there all the time.
It was really, really an adventure, right? It was an adventure. It was also the beginning of networks, and it was interesting because Contacto already allowed us to work in networks with the other interns, with the other recent graduates. I remember I had a group of people. One was in Japan, the other one in the US, and today it's very common to have this global networks or platforms. Back in the day,
there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram.
It was really cutting edge thing. So it was great. I mean, I was very lucky. I went to what we would call today a startup, because Bosch had tried to acquire a big company in Chile, a big factory. That didn't come through at the very last minute. And so they had rights for the brand. And they decided, okay, we establish a small company, we import products from Portugal, and we resell them in Chile. And I arrive at the exact moment when the startup was being put together. And for me, at the age of 23, it was a great experience. I get into a multinational company.
A lot of responsibility.
But with a startup environment. Everybody does everything. Today you sell, tomorrow you take care of after sales, tomorrow you do marketing and leaflets and so on. And for me, it was really an eye-opening experience in Latin America, right? Which, gives that flavor. So I travel a lot, the continent, and in the middle of the internship, Bosch offers me a contract to come to Portugal and to be responsible for sales for Latin America. Because I was the only person back then.
24 or 25?
I was 24. It was really outstanding, right? So I had this, kickstart. It was great. I did come to Portugal end of 99. And then I started in the year 2000 to work in Latin America from Portugal, opening up new markets. Again, very lucky start of career, because I was traveling the whole time to Brazil, to Venezuela, to Colombia, Mexico, opening up distributors for our plant, the plant that Bosch has in Aveiro, for gas water heaters, right? And I did that for 1.5, less than 2 years. And then the company decides to copy the model of Chile in Argentina to open a startup with the same idea. And they invited me to join that startup. So I moved to Buenos Aires in the year 2001. And I started an international career that took me 22 years abroad. I thought it was 3 years contract, and I returned to Portugal only in 2022.
When we met.
Exactly.
We should have met in Chile, but for some reason we didn't.
So the constellation was not to meet. We will know maybe later why not, right? But I mean, fast forwarding, it was amazing. I started the first leadership position in Argentina. I was very young. The country was, as we know, very, very unstable.
Yeah.
I spent 3 years there. The 3 years that had the largest institutional crisis of Argentina in the end of 2001.
Yes.
So when I experienced all that, I think I soaked all that. And the startup that we opened, we had to shut down. I had to shut it down. And that was very, very transformational for me.
This was kind of like your baby.
Yes,
right?
It was my baby. I was really, really young. I mean, I was responsible for, hiring the people, certifying the product, selling, getting the customers and so on. But I mean, that's how you grow. And I grew a lot at a very young age. I was very fortunate to have that opportunity. That then took me to other divisions of Bosch, right? So then I didn't want to come back to Portugal. I was already abroad. From Argentina, I moved to Brazil. When that thing happened in that division, I went to work for the automotive division, which was always very appealing because Bosch is the main business. And I started also to work in strategy and business development. What for me gave me a lot of thought processes and discipline, because I started always in the front row of sales, marketing, after sales, always near the customer, always in the trench. And that opportunity, I was responsible for business development and strategy together with the regional president of automotive in Latin America. And that gave me a little bit of structure, thought process, strategy, background, and
because that's also what corporates give you at the beginning of your career,
exactly,
right? They give you that foundation,
the rotation.
You rotate, you understand sales, marketing, strategy, sometimes finance, sometimes M&A.
Indeed. So I worked those 2 years in strategy and business development, but then I wanted to go back to I think my natural strength, if you will. And I moved back to Buenos Aires, where I became responsible for the automotive business in Argentina. It was already a sizable business. It was my first general management position, which I loved. I had everything. I had sales and marketing and after sales and training.
How old were you then?
2006, 30 to 31.
Okay.
Yeah, still young. And it was great. I spent 5 years there. I did my MBA. I wanted to study. At my third year in the job, I could pursue the MBA. I did it in Argentinian school, but I had an exchange program with Harvard.
Oh.
And that's where the love started, right? So I spent 3 weeks in campus. It was great.
In Cambridge.
In Cambridge. It was on the university side. And then I also had like 2 or 3 days in Wharton and in Darden.
Right.
And that experience gave me 2 things. One, I fell in love with the academy at Harvard, the campus, and so on. But also, I thought, I want to work in the US. This is something that I will pursue. I want to have an experience here. It didn't happen right after, so I got married in Buenos Aires. My wife is Argentina, as you know. My oldest daughter was also born there. But then we moved back to Brazil. And I wanted to have an experience in consumer goods, and that's what also multinationals like Bosch give you. From an automotive business that it's really B2B to go to a B2C business. So I moved to consumer goods. I became vice president of sales for Latin America, living in Sao Paulo. I did that for 4 years, and then the opportunity in the US came. So in 2015. I was offered a position of CEO of one division of the company for North America, which I took, and I moved to Boston in 2015, and I became the regional president and CEO of that division. And career-wise, that was, even now I can tell you that was the most transformational experience of my career. It was a company that was really in dire straits with very negative results for long years, no clear strategy, no success, a culture of CEOs after CEOs. So Very, very unusual for Bosch, I would say. And then I arrived.
Tough job, right?
Very tough job. Very, very tough job. Then I arrived. It was really, really tough. I thought that this was a 4-year maximum contract. I eventually spent almost 8 there in the US, but it was really, really the experience that shaped me the most.
What was it so different about working in the US culture compared to, the rest of the world or South America?
Well, I think, the magnitude of things is different. The attitude of the Americans is different. And I
risk-taking or
risk-taking, everything is possible. This go-get-it attitude. I think we in Europe are educated with much more cautiousness and risk aversion because of many reasons. I think in Portugal even worse than in others in other more developed countries. And the US is, I think that this generation, it was raised in a completely different manner, right? So you try to do it, you
fail, you try again.
Exactly. And it's not bad to fail. It's actually encouraged to fail and to learn from that. And I think that culture, which was really, really not the one that had been raised or worked with before, helped me to be more courageous, more entrepreneur, more risk taker, and I think to learn more about this culture and this way of doing business, other than the experiences I had before. And I also grew a lot. I was a foreigner in a German company in the US, so the constellation was really tricky.
How did that culture fit in with the sort of headquarters in Germany?
Well, I think it fit well because I was given a lot of autonomy, a lot of trust, maybe from the headquarters, and a lot of support. And I think that I would say one of the reasons why I also succeeded, because the board understood back then that this was not a facelift. This was an extreme makeover. An extreme makeover would take time, would require tough decisions, and they thought that I was able to do that. So I think it was a good combination. I had the attitude, the qualification, and I think the strategy, the experience to make it happen. But you need support, and you need also
backup,
someone that covers your back when things don't go well. And the first 3 years we were not making money, and we were still negative EBIT. And the board was supportive, say, we know you're doing the right things, we are really right behind you, so keep on going. And that was instrumental. Eventually we more than doubled the business. We turned the business around. When I left, it was double-digit positive EBIT. And it's probably one of the most impressive turnarounds that I've done in my career.
And how did you manage to change the way people, I guess, worked, or their attitude? Because I'm sure you had to do lots of changes and tough decisions, as you said.
Yeah.
How was this change management?
I think I would take it 2 ways. One, I had to change people as well. People had to have the right attitude, the right mindset. But then, I think
that the critical part? Isn't that the critical part? So, like, to have the right people?
For me, is the critical part. But then, when you think you have the right people have to have a purpose, and they have to believe in that purpose, and they have to believe that why they are doing things the way we're doing. And that was the whole mantra, right? So we wanted to transform, we wanted to change. And I think I got then people around me that understood the purpose of what we were doing. And that's when the magic happened, right? Then everybody was, rowing towards the same way and to the same purpose. We had a lot of bumps in a row, a lot of frustration, things that didn't go well and so on. But the team was resilient because they understood why they were doing such things and why they were rowing towards that direction. And I think that was the key success factor. People, and then around people, product strategy, then the right customers, the right price point, everything was together. We established a business unit that was local with a differentiated product. So everything worked out well, but I think the key the tipping point was the right people and the right purpose that they believed. So that was that. Then I wanted to come back to Portugal. That's when we met. A small parenthesis, that's when I went to Harvard before I came. So I did the AMP, which, as you know, is the Advanced Management Program. Transformational for me.
How many weeks was the AMP?
In campus, 7. But in total, between campus and off campus, 6 months. It was good.
Was it what you expected?
It was more than I think. At the beginning, everybody tells you that this is really transformation, and I mean, you have seen a lot, and you go with a grain of salt. But when you come, I mean, you really say, yeah, I mean, this is really transformational.
Just the performance
is really cool. And the cohort, the people around you, right? They're all, experienced people, so many different backgrounds, and you're there together with this pressure of reading and delivering. And so it's crazy, but it's good. It's crazy good, right? So that's that. And then 22 years later, I said, okay, it's time to go back to Portugal. Right? I came back here. I was given an opportunity to manage a large region from Portugal, South Europe, Africa, and Latin America, which I did for 1.5 years. And then the company offered me the opportunity to go to the board, which, honestly speaking, I was not expecting that, because normally the board positions are all in Germany, and German speaking helps. I didn't have none of the two.
Speak several languages, but not
German. and okay, I took it, and I took over in my assignment January 24. And I finished just a month and a half ago, by the end of October. It was an incredible experience for me to be the only non-German speaker, non-German resident in one of the Bosch boards. It was really incredible, and I thought that it was really the cherry on the cake of my career. I also ended up with 25 years with the company. And before you ask the question, I already tried to answer why did you leave, right? Well, I thought that I had already achieved my Peter's point at the company, and I felt that I needed to do something different. I wanted to do something different. I have to say that the commuting was also a big toll on me, and for personal reasons and family reasons, I was not seeing myself moving everybody again to live in Germany. So, I exposed this to the board of the holding and supervisory board, and they were very, I think they were very comprehensive of the situation, and very understandable that, okay, maybe, you want to do something different, you want to explore yourself, other opportunities. We don't want to hold you back. I mean, you have done everything here. You started as an intern, and, you ended up in one of the boards. You now want to do something different. You only have our best references. Yeah. So I'm still, feeling myself thinking about the next, but I'm now thinking about the next.
I mean, it's an incredible trajectory from a small village in Portugal all the way to the board of one of the largest companies in the world, and you should be very proud of it. And I'm sure it's such an innovative company. Was there an entrepreneurial culture? Did you create startups? Did you support startups? Did you acquire startups?
Well, there is an entrepreneurial startup, an entrepreneurial spirit and culture, but there's a corporate entrepreneurial spirit, which is different than the real, my opinion, real entrepreneurial spirit. So my experience at Bosch or big corporations, so you have like a venture capital arm, even a division that looks for startups, is always looking for startups. And Bosch itself, being such an innovative company, is very, very particular on that. There is a lot of money put on startups, on new trends, electrification, renewables. The company covers such a vast array of things, of areas of industries, that to have a startup culture is very important. So yes, indeed, the company has acquired several startups and partner with startups. I think it's complicated to combine the corporate heavy governance world with a spirit of a startup where everybody rolls the sleeves and you jump on processes, you jump on things to make them happen.
Right.
And I think that's a big challenge. Exactly. That's a big challenge for big corporations to cope with the governance, with this big, heavy, ship that moves very, very slowly, with this race boat that is next to it and wants to, cut corners and go and pass this and that. But it happens. I saw some of the startups seeing light and being successful. So there is this division at Bosch from e-bikes. This started as a startup. It's now a multi-billion division. It has a big spike in COVID times where everybody wanted a bike, and an electric bike was really hype. But it started as a startup. But I've seen investments in the medical devices. I remember when COVID hit, Bosch had also a test device that came also from a startup. So there is this culture of investing in startups. The challenge I see is this cultural misfit at times between this big monster.
How should startups approach, big corporate like Bosch or any other, if they want to partner and become, suppliers to a big corporate before they even get acquired? That's another question.
Correct.
But you're a startup, you want to approach this big corporate so that you can sell and grow your revenues massively, using that corporate.
I think the first step is the idea, right? I mean, I think when the startup has an idea that you think it fits to one of these multinationals' arms, industries, divisions, product portfolio, I think the first approach is to get in touch with someone in that arena to try to sell the idea, to try to pitch the idea.
The idea or the product?
The idea could be the product, a service, a complementary service to a product that already exists. The idea that the entrepreneur, the startup thinks it's interesting to the big corporation. And then the big corporation could either help to develop or scale or transform in combination. So I think it starts with selling to pitching the idea. And then I think if the big corporation puts some skin in the game, I mean, maybe a series A or series B or
a contract,
or deploy some structural leadership to help, which at times also you need some structure of these guys. It helps to maybe put this idea, product, service in a little bit of a framework that then could be scalable by the big corporation. And I think that's where the magic starts.
And in terms of acquisitions, how would you acquire, startups, or would companies approach Bosch? Would Bosch sort of?
It's the same. So Bosch has a very particular capital setup because, as you know, is the largest non-publicly traded company. So it's a foundation that is managed by a holding with 92% of the capital, and every cent is invested in the company, right? So there's no distribution of dividends, there's no, payment of the shareholders. And that gives the opportunity to the company to invest in these smaller companies without a big, let's say,
stock market
observation and scrutiny. So I think, again, this allows startups to partner with this company in the different series of development. And I think even when you have a more mature product, it's never too late to approach a company, or in this case Bosch, to try to partner. And the partnership could be, again, as I said, as investing or giving also some framework, because the company has so many sites and labs and development. At times it's just a co-development of a product. So I really encourage startups, and even if you are in the very early stage of your idea, to try to connect, because product development in big corporations
Takes
takes
a long
it's a long cycle. So if you think your idea
can fit in there somehow,
either accelerating or helping to achieve the result of the product faster, or complementing the product with the service, go and pitch it because at times we are so blindsided.
That's right.
So blindsided because we live in silos in this big corporation. We don't know what the other guy is doing, even if he's sitting next to you. So if you had this idea, try to pitch it. Now it's easier. You have ways, to connect, social media, or just get in touch.
I think even the startups are a little bit in silos, right? They also, I think this seems to be kind of an obvious recommendation in Insight, but it's not so obvious in a sense that I think startups mostly approach corporates to sell, but they don't know how to sell because they're not supplying a solution to the problem that corporate has. And so what you're saying is, the idea needs to be something that is solving a problem or expanding a capacity inside the corporate, right? And so you have to speak with the people that are in charge of that area,
correct,
one way or the other, right?
And that understands either the challenge that they're having and the potential solution that they're being offered. Otherwise, there's no magic. If there's no expertise on both sides on that same area, you could be pitching a great idea, but to the wrong choirs,
right?
And vice versa. The company maybe is looking for buying startups or buying a specific component or a startup in one specific field, but if you don't get to know the guys on the other side, you are just shooting, to the air. So I really encourage people to try to connect and understand what is the problem to solve, or what do you have that could help
solve our problem.
Exactly.
Or expand our capacity.
Accelerating, solving, creating a new solution that adds on to a specific product that already exists. It doesn't need to be a new, Apple, iPhone,
right. Component,
could be just
service,
accelerator of things. It's really instrumental, but is complementary add.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, that was super interesting, Vítor. I'm sure we're going to be looking forward to hearing your news and what you're going to be doing next after this great career. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much, Stefan.
Great to have you at Indico.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thank you.